cars, and he actually led to some of the development for Rover. But this was really cool, and it's actually now one of the prototypes for the company Misty. So if you know Misty Robotics, and you follow sort of their path, going towards full robotics, a companion. If you look behind, it's got BB-8 back there, something like that, some kind of companion in your life that is robotic. And this one also manages all these sensors. So these are time of flight sensors. These are from SparkFun. Super awesome because they give you a distance. So if you notice, we put 3 of them on here. You can do a lot of other stuff, stereo vision. There's a lot to do with robots. We were trying to get to a cost-effective way to see, but this is one version of robotics. We also have this. So this is everybody, whenever we drive this guy around, I try not to do it too much to hurt his shell, but a while ago we had an amazing artist named Kyle Wheeler who would paint Sphero robots for us. He was really good at painting and doing all kinds of art for us, and he made this awesome poke shell ball, and look how cool this is. So we don't yet have the license to this, but this is kind of the stuff that we encourage. If you'd want to get a Sphero and paint a robot ball, I'll probably be doing an episode of live streaming about how to do that. How did we make this? Look how shiny it is. This isn't just spray painted. There's a lot that goes into making something like this. So we could talk about that at some point down the line. I'm going to bring some characters to life real quick because we're going to go a little faster as we close up. This is R2Q5 and R2D2. These guys are amazing, and you probably recognize them from a little science fiction film called Star Wars. Obviously, they were amazing characters, and they have a robotic look. There's also some robots. This is actually from my past. This is Robo Sapien. So when I was growing up, not when I was growing up, in college though, this was the coolest robot that hit the shelves. When I saw this thing hit the shelves, it moved, it walked, you could program it. It was really slow and really crude, but this was the early 2000s. And this is what people used to say robots are. A humanoid robot. This is what robots are. And so Ian and I, when we had these in our lives and quadcopters and stuff, we challenged ourselves to build something to change the way robots are. So I contend that this is a robot. This is Sphero Bolt. This is our newest offering. Super compact robot. It's got, inductive charging on the bottom. We actually make these cool blue wheels instead of gray just to let them show off a little bit how fast they go. It's got the matrix. It has infrared and all the cool accelerometer and motors and all this stuff. It's just compact in there.
Compass, magnetometer.
Yeah, magnetometer. It's got pretty much everything you could say. It even has light sensing, so it can tell whether it's in the light or in the dark. So that's pretty advanced. And then we used all of the cool technology, obviously, from that when we first made Sphero to make Ollie. So if you're familiar with Sphero, Ollie's kind of the cool, crazy cousin. So this is a dark side Ollie. Ollies are really fast, 14 miles an hour, in fact, which is pretty fast. It's almost as fast as you can run. So if you can get an Ollie going and chase somebody with it, we actually race them around the office a lot. You need quite a bit of space, but these are programmable too. And all of the stuff that Sphero makes anyway is accessible through the Sphero EDU app. Okay, I think we're done talking about robots now.
Well, see you later.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, we're going to switch back over to our main thing. Thank you again, Julie. We needed a little assistance.
Anytime.
All right, let me get to my schedule here. So that's what robotics is to us. Again, we consider ourselves a company that's always tried to be bringing robots to you, and bringing just the fun of how fun it is to control something in the real life. Meaning, I've been controlling robots in software for a long time, controlling little character robots in software for a long time. I love that. I love building software characters. I love building video games. We're involved with video games quite a bit here. But there is something really intrinsically amazing to driving a character in the real world. When you move a robot in the real world, it's surprising how fun it is. So if you haven't tried our robots, you can try them out all over the place. If you don't even want to buy one yet, you can just go try them out at like Apple stores. But there's something pretty fun to it. And if you let your imagination get out there with what you could do with a rover, meaning put stuff on top. And it doesn't have to be other electronics. It could just be a cup holder, right? And then you can be driving a beverage around the place. And so there's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do with robotics, but you could program it. So meaning you could put that beverage in there and program it to go down the hall, out your door, into the kitchen, do a spin around the table, and then go back and bring a Coca-Cola to your brother or something like that. So the kind of possibilities with something like this are endless, and it really is cool to see that robotics are kind of taking off. If you look in schools right now, when I was growing up, we learned the basics in math and science. We learned cursive, things that kind of don't make very much sense anymore. Nowadays, schools are really with it. It's pretty cool. You see kids that know how to 3D print, students that know how to code, people who know what robotics are, who could more advanced than some of our robotics. I mean, very advanced robotics are coming around in middle school and high school, and so it's really exciting to see. It's exciting to see that robotics are part of our life again. So, because for me, I wanted robot friends. That's why I have so many. This is actually probably 10% of my robots. If you know me, you know I have an obscene amount of robots. I have big BB-8s and R2s and Johnny, which is actually my favorite robot. I'm also working on a full-size Chappie, so that one kind of went under the radar, but Neil Blomkamp is an amazing director, so if you're into science fiction films, which a lot of this came from, so Star Wars, and I would say Lightning McQueen's a little science fiction-y, so, but if you're into science fiction-y stuff, Chappie's a really good movie about sort of what could happen with artificial intelligence. Why is that important in robotics? Because, all of those movies in the past, R2-D2 included, the whole point was that these robots were smart enough to know what's going on. So that's kind of what's coming up with AI. We'll be doing more discussions about that as well. I actually did want to open up to a Q&A session to see if anybody had any questions or if there was anything out there that anybody wanted me to answer real quick. We just did the Kickstarter live update earlier, so if you have any questions about that too, about even simple stuff, when do you think we're going to ship or whatever, just ask away and I can answer anything we have, anything you have.
What are we going to talk about next week?
Okay, so I will go into my schedule. Thank you, Julie, for reminding me. So if there's any questions, just ask them. Also, you can always get at us at Twitter, so Sphero and Sphero EDU on Twitter. If you just ask us questions, we are very responsive. Julie and I are always kind of around. If you need anything from us, we'll respond on Twitter or any of our social media platforms. But next week, this one was kind of an intro. We're just talking robotics. It's pretty freeform. But next week, I intend to get into a very fun subject, I guess, is LEDs. So what we're going to do is through the next few weeks, let's say the next 2 months, I'm going to break apart robots. So meaning when we start making robots, there's motors and there's control systems and there's all kinds of other stuff, but there's also LEDs. And so next week I'm going to break down the topic of LEDs. So what are they? How do they work? And then we're going to actually show you kind of using them in a Sphero, and just kind of make it fun because, after all this time making hundreds and hundreds of robots, the funnest part is when you get an LED to light up or a motor to move. And so next week we'll talk about LEDs, and then actually the week after that we're going to talk about IMU. And so what that is the inertial unit. That's what makes Sphero work. So it's kind of the inside, it's the smart part. We'll bring engineers and brilliant scientists on board to talk about it, so you will get kind of first-hand knowledge from those people about how we calibrate the LEDs. We'll probably start pretty simple. What is an LED? What does it stand for, etc., and get pretty advanced about how do we transfer between RGB and hue, saturation, brightness, and other pretty advanced topics. So we are out of time now, and so thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next week. All right, bye.